More than 7,000 Americans lost their lives over the Battle of Guam in the South Pacific during World War II, but many survived with amazing stories. William Mooney, a native of St. Joseph, is one of these men. And in 1944, Mr. Mooney survived against all odds after being shot down over the island of Guam and left lost at sea for 17 days.
You feel it. But I don't know, everything is automatic. You know, when you do the same thing day after day after day, you eventually get to the point that you don't know you're doing it even, you just do it. And when you're in that airplane and no matter what goes wrong, you're still doing everything automatic. You don't realize you're doing anything. And I do remember that I couldn't hardly see. And a wingman that was flying close to me kind of guided me down a little bit because I couldn't see where I was going.
Mr. Mooney was taken down by a Japanese fighter over the island of Guam during the Mariana Islands campaign, one of the major battles of the Pacific. The Mariana Islands were occupied by the Japanese, and the campaign was to secure the islands for future operations against the Philippines, Taiwan, and ultimately Japan.
I was down under the ocean someplace when I got out of that airplane. And when I got to the surface, it seemed to me at the time that it took me an awful long time to get to the surface. So I don't know how deep I might have gone before I got out of the airplane.
A fellow pilot circled him for quite a while, but then vanished.
So he left. And after that, you know, I pretty much was watching what was going on up there. But after he left, I looked down and the boat was full of blood. I mean, it was just, that rubber boat just plumb full of blood. And I couldn't figure out where the hell that blood came from. And I started checking myself over and finally found it up here. It was up there and that was just laid wide open.
Mr. Mooney was equipped with a parachute and a small raft attached to the side, a raft about the size of an inflatable infant pool. He had no food or water and had no idea if he would ever be rescued or even taken prisoner.
Morning after I was shot down, it went to raining. And I had a kind of a plastic poncho that I put over myself to it's kind of the color of the water, to hide so the enemy couldn't see me. And I just drew up my knees and the rain filled that poncho. And I took all the air out of my life jacket, and a mouthful at a time I filled that poncho.
What Mr. Mooney did, in fact, was fill the life jacket up with water mouthful by mouthful over the course of the day from the water he pooled in the poncho.
The water in there kept me alive for that 17 days because it did not rain again.
Along with being hungry, wounded, and desolate, Mr. Mooney had to endure at least one shark circling his blood-filled raft for over an hour and a violent, turbulent storm a few days later.
It's just scary. You don't sleep well during one, I'll guarantee you. But during that violent weather, one minute you'd be sitting up on top of the world, you could see that island and everything around you, and the next minute the only thing you could see is water. You'd be way down in the swell someplace, and then you'd be way back up, and then way down.
After being rescued by an Allied plane 17 days later, Mr. Mooney was treated and rested up. The Army couldn't believe he had survived for so long at sea. He did go back up weeks later and resumed his duty so that he could stay with his men, but soon after he realized his incident had changed him.
I got to where I wasn't any good. I'd start down and I'd see those tracers going by, and somehow I just couldn't keep going. And
trauma from being shot down?
Yeah, you don't forget that real soon. And everybody during the war always shot tracers. Every fifth round was a tracer, which was kind of a spark that flies. And when you fly down on some of them targets, those tracers would be We'll be like flying through a beehive. They just look like a solid wall. And as I say, I'd get to where I'd pull out too high.
Mr. Mooney continued to fly for a short time afterwards, but since the war, he's never flown an airplane again. His story was also featured in a comic book shortly after, although Mr. Mooney said it skewed the facts quite a bit. His experience in the war taught him to enjoy life day by day, and he has enjoyed a long life on the ground.
I've had a wonderful life. I really have.
Jeremy Lyons, Fox 26, KNPN.